Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into one of history's absolute most baffling unsolved missing persons investigations. We're looking at a 400-year-old cold case that still stumps historians and archaeologists to this very day, and honestly, it really tests the limits of everything we think we know about early American history.
I mean, just imagine it for a second. You sail across the entire ocean to build a completely new life. You arrive in this distant land, you build homes, plant crops, start a community with your friends and family, and then, out of nowhere, your entire community completely disappears. Over 100 people literally vanish without a single trace.
So we're officially opening the case file on the Lost Colony of Roanoke. Our goal? To analyze the primary clues of a disappearance that still defies explanation. Think about it. No bodies found. Zero signs of a battle. Just one single word left behind as evidence. Let's look at the facts of the case.
Section 1. The Missing Persons Case.
Let's establish the victims and the timeline of our crime scene, starting in the year 1587. At this point, England desperately wanted to establish a permanent settlement in the New World. So a group of more than 100 men, women, and children sailed across the Atlantic to settle on Roanoke Island, which is in modern-day North Carolina. Fun fact, among these settlers was a young girl named Virginia Dare. Her birth is a massive historical marker because she was the very first English child born in North America. But, well, despite that initial hope, problems popped up quickly. Food was scarce, supplies were incredibly limited, and relations with local tribes were kinda uncertain. This colony desperately needed help to survive.
Okay, let's look at this timeline to figure out what went wrong. The colonists practically begged their governor, John White, to sail back to England and get supplies. He agreed, heading out in 1587. But fate totally intervened here. When White reached England, war was brewing with Spain. The English government basically commandeered all the ships to prepare for an invasion, meaning White was stuck. He was literally trapped in England for 3 long, agonizing years, from 1588 to 1589, completely unable to return to his starving colony. He finally managed to secure a ship in 1590.
Section 2. Analyzing primary clues. When Governor White finally made it back in 1590, the colony he expected to find struggling was instead, well, a massive, baffling crime scene. I want you to put yourself in the governor's shoes as we walk the scene. You arrive, and the settlement is completely abandoned. Every single house is totally empty. No people, no animals. But the real kicker, what makes this a true historical anomaly, is that there was zero signs of violence or a struggle. No bodies, no weapons strewn about. The whole shebang was just gone.
As White frantically searched the deserted area, he finally found our primary piece of physical evidence. Carved right into a wooden fence post was a single, mysterious word: Croatoan. Alongside this, the letters CRO were carved into a nearby tree. This right here is the smoking gun of our investigation. But what exactly does it mean?
Now, what's really fascinating here is what's missing, the distress cross. See, before White left for England, he had arranged a very specific signal with the settlers. If they had to move, they'd leave a message. But if they were in imminent danger or, under attack, they were instructed to carve a cross right beside that message. And this brilliantly illustrates the whole crux of our mystery. There was no cross. The absence of that cross strongly suggests the colonists weren't attacked at all, but actually relocated on purpose.
So our lead investigator had a solid lead. White wanted to head straight over to the nearby Croatoan Island Native American community, fully believing his people had safely gone there. But in a tragic twist of fate, a violent storm struck, and I mean a massive storm. It was so bad it forced White's ships to completely abandon the search and flee the area. He never got the chance to properly search for them, and he never saw the settlers again. The physical trail went completely, frustratingly cold right there in 1590.
Section 3. Evaluating modern theories. Since the original lead investigator was literally forced off the case by the weather, it's up to us to evaluate the prevailing theories that have popped up over the centuries. Without hard evidence at the immediate scene, historians have proposed a pretty wide range of scenarios. The most prominent theory? Integration with local Native American tribes. Others suggest that starvation and disease simply weakened the settlers until they scattered into the wilderness. Then there's the possibility they were attacked by hostile groups, even though, remember, there was no cross. And, of course, a vacuum of facts always invites more imaginative theories. We're talking everything from secret conspiracies to supernatural forces or even alien abductions.
Let's focus in and weigh the most logical theory here: indigenous integration. Looking at the evidence for this, it perfectly aligns with the carved Croatoan message left without that distress cross. I mean, it makes total logical sense that a starving colony would seek help from the locals, right? However, the big evidence against it is simply a lack of definitive historical proof. Despite centuries of digging and searching, no single discovery has proven this beyond a shadow of a doubt. So, the case remains open.
Section 4. The final verdict.
So where exactly does that leave our investigation today, over 400 years later? Well, while the original trail went cold in 1590, modern forensics and archaeology have actually given us some really compelling new leads. Recently, archaeologists have uncovered artifacts linked to English colonists way inland from the original Roanoke settlement. This physical evidence heavily supports the idea that at least some of the settlers might have survived by migrating and joining nearby indigenous communities. Honestly, it's the closest thing we have to a real break in the case. But even with those incredible inland discoveries, the ultimate fate of the colony remains unproven. The homes of over 100 people vanished, and their names basically faded into history. And why does this matter to us today? Well, because it challenges our understanding of early human resilience and reminds us just how incredibly fragile those first communities truly were. We have a single word carved on a post, a few scattered artifacts, and history's most haunting missing persons case. So as we close this file today, I'll leave you with this to chew on. Did the settlers of Roanoke find a new home and a new family out there in the wilderness? Or did something far darker swallow them whole? What do you think really happened to the lost colony of Roanoke?